Hi, everyone. I'm Cassie Olson, Director of Sales and Partnerships at the Stagwell Group. Welcome to my inaugural 5 Minutes with video, where I highlight some of the most brilliant minds and innovative work of our agencies. Today, I'm joined with Supriya Dev Purkaystha, who is the Commercial Director at ForwardPMX. Welcome, Supriya. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, Cassie. Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be your first guest. You have no idea how high that makes me feel right now. So yes, thank you. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Supriya, I know you and I have been talking a lot about representation, especially in the tech sector, which historically has been very male dominant, and even to this day still is. I know we were talking about an article CNBC had released in our last D&I meeting, and the stats were staggering in terms of the level of representation. I know at Facebook alone, in 2014, they reported 15% women in all of their staff. And now we look at beginning of 2019 and that number has only increased to 23% or 26%. So there's a lot of work to be done. Oh shoot, it was 23%. But we'll keep going. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that, and maybe we can start from there.
Yeah, so I think, first and foremost, let's just be really clear here. Facebook is a global player. They are a global company. They, have thousands and thousands of people that work for them, and only 23% of them are female. If you look at the world's population and you were to look at the stats there, it's pretty clear. We are 50% male and 50% female. There's slight, play on numbers there. I think it's like 49-51. But really, we are globally equally balanced in terms of the gender split. But yet our big companies can't get that gender split right. And I think there's one thing about having a good split across your genders, but there's also a piece around having the right people at the right place. And one of the things that we know affects choices that people make about the industries that they work at, or the businesses that they work at, is actually the people that they see at the top. Now, we all know that the digital and the tech sector has been predominantly white and male, and that's no kind of secret. It has been getting better. I must say that at Forward, we've managed to get to an almost kind of equilibrium. I think we're at 49-51 as well, which is we're very, very pleased with that. And I think one of the ways in which we did it was almost by accident, and I'll be honest about that. And it was because we had a unique way of doing things, that we needed to bring in people that were kind of fresh into the industry before they got bad habits. And so we started up our own grad program. And as we know, there is a fair representation of females and males graduating. And through that mechanism, we were able to actually get a more diverse pipeline going in terms of gender splits. And therefore, we've managed to, over time, we were 30 people, I think, when I first started, we're now thousands. We've managed to build ourselves into a diverse, from a gender perspective, business. And I think, if we just start off there, the tech industry, being predominantly white and male, hasn't always been attractive to people like me and you. Like, I don't know how you came into this, but I did it by accident. I started off in insurance, in finance, and then found myself in the agency world. And it wasn't a career choice at all to begin with. So we need to make this a career choice for more women. And the way in which you do that is actually by creating more role models that what they want to emulate or they want to follow, and making this an attractive place to be. And we'll start to see, hopefully, a more diverse pipeline in terms of gender. And the same is true for ethnic minorities. With Black Lives Matter movements happening over the past 4 or 5 months, diversity has been a big focal point, to be honest. If you look at what we do, and let's take Facebook, for example. Facebook is a global platform. They want everybody to use them. Well, if you want everybody to use you, you need to cater for everybody. And as we know, if you've got people that are developing, you'll be drawing on your own lived experiences when you're designing a product or when you're designing a campaign. And if you don't have that lived experience, how are you going to be able to relate to the next person? Yeah. And I think those are things that we need to be more mindful, especially in the tech and the digital industry, because we are global. We are serving global communities more so than bricks and mortar companies who are very much located in one location. And we need to make ourselves available to those people. And the way in which you do that is by having diversity of mind when you're doing your product development or when you're creating your media plans, to make sure you are catering for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another interesting point, because it's not only about reaching as broad of an audience as you can, which as any marketer is your number one priority and goal, but I think the commercial value in representation as well, and what that can do for the growth of your business, not only for the morale and for the culture of your company, but actually for your bottom line, there's something to be said for that as well.
Yeah. Do you know, that's a really good point, because we had I'm part of Meet for Matters, which is we're an organization who mentor people from ethnic minority backgrounds, and we have a panel that we do, and as part of my research for one of those panels, I'd been looking into the pay gap and equal pay, and as part of that research I came across 2 audits that were done. One was done by Ruby McGregor Smith in 2017, which was the race at workplace audit, I believe it was called. It was called the Ruby McGregor Smith review, and in it she kind of assessed the benefits and the impact of having diversity within the workforce, and she basically said that the UK would benefit from another £24 billion worth of revenue if businesses were to become more diverse in their workforces. That's a staggering number. And the funny thing is, as I think about it now, is that review was ordered by Sajid Javid at the time, and was conducted by Ruby McGregor Smith, who are both from ethnic backgrounds, from ethnic minority backgrounds. And again, it goes back to the thought processes, right? Do you think about these things? Do these things matter to you if you can't relate to them, if you don't have lived experiences, or if you don't have people that you know with lived experiences? The same is true for those that who identify as having a disability, for example. If you look at the world stats, there are, I think, 15% of the world population has identified itself as having a disability. That could be a sight disability impairment, or it could be a hearing impairment, or it could be a physical impairment. Again, there are different needs and different lived experiences of all those individuals. If your workforce does not have people who have, who identify with having a disability, or have family members or friends that have, how are you going to have that perspective? And how are you going to be able to cater for them? I think there's a certain amount that you can do with tools. So tools can give you some insights into that. Panel data can give you some insights into that. But it really is about being able to bring in that diversity of mind and skill sets into the business, which I think will help grow. I mean, Microsoft is great at doing that. Microsoft promotes diversity of thinking and asks about what is it that they could do better for loved ones of colleagues, and that's how they built a lot of their kind of facial recognition software and the accessibility tools as well, was actually to cater for people within the business, and also people that knew others outside of the business to support them. So it came from personal experiences and lived experiences, not from manuals or theoretical pieces.
I mean, we don't know what we don't know. So unless we can make sure that we're filling ourselves in a room with those diverse experiences and personalities and backgrounds, really missing a lot.
This industry is known as being an industry for white men, middle-aged white men, and has not been attractive to other genders or people from other backgrounds, right? So I think we could make it attractive by having role models. But one of the things that we need to be really mindful of, I think, is the needs of the different, backgrounds. The needs of individuals. So individual needs need to be catered for. And what we need to be aware of is that, you know, people from different backgrounds, different minority backgrounds, or with disabilities, or with, you know, socioeconomic backgrounds, have different needs. And it's not possible for one business on their own to cater for that. So I think having a support structure in place is going to be really important to make sure that when we get those people in, we keep them. Because there is a real problem at the moment whereby, you know, I alluded to how we've managed to get people, or we've managed to get our gender split almost 50-50, which is great. And we're working on the minority, you know, we're working on the BAME representation within our business. But I think what's going to be really important is how do we keep them going up the ladder? How do we ensure that they're supported and make it to the top, so that this is the dream that they dreamt, and this does become a reality, and it doesn't become the glass ceiling that they can't break through, because that is a big problem. And what you often see is that, you know, people are brought in, great, but then they drop off at middle management because they can't actually get any higher. And it's one of the things that we're covering in our DEI group, right, is about retention and culture. And so I think it's really important to look at having structures, and things like affinity groups could be really useful in that instance. So ensuring that people have a place where they feel they can be themselves. I mean, they should always be able to be themselves, you know, 100% of the time, but having others that they can talk to, who they can relate to on a one-to-one basis. Maybe they have similar food, you know, appreciation, or maybe they have, you know, for me, it's Bollywood. So anyone that will talk to me about Bollywood is amazing. And you understand me, you get me, because that's what I do in the evenings. I watch Bollywood. But, you know, it could be anything, absolutely anything, but somewhere where you feel, okay, I've got a different affinity, which is not work related. On a personal level, I can relate to this person. It also gives you, you know, more strength in numbers, so you don't feel alone, because it can be very, very lonely being the only person in the room of your ethnic background. And sometimes sometimes it's unavoidable. It is at the moment, unfortunately. If the pipeline isn't diverse enough to have another Bangladeshi person in it that's going to be recruited, unfortunately, I've got to deal with that. But being able to have others within the business or organization, I think is something that would be helpful. And in numbers, you have more strength and give yourself a voice. And I think that will not only spur on that confidence, but also hopefully ideas. You know, when people get together, they spar, they have ideas, and hopefully come up with more product or more, you know, service ideas, and support the business growth even more. But we need to support our people to support our business, rather than the other way around.
That safe space where they feel free to bring their full selves to work, to be authentic, have that community, and be heard. So I'm so excited about what we're doing to enforce this at the Stagwell group, and I'm so glad we were able to bring this to everyone else as well. And hopefully this is a conversation we can continue to bring more and more people into, as well as you and I continue to learn and figure out and understand really what this future looks like for our industry, for our businesses. Well, Supriya, I think we need a lot more than 5 minutes, maybe 5 hours to have a conversation like this, but I've really enjoyed it. And I'm so glad that you were able to come and to share some of your knowledge, your insight, and the incredible work that you're doing at ForwardPMX to really bring this whole movement forward.
Well, you know me, I can't stop talking. So I was a bit dubious when you said we've got 5 minutes to talk, but I've had a blast, and I hope your listeners also find the content interesting. As I said to you before, I'd love to do as many of these as you want, but really and truthfully, I wish you all the success with the series, and I look forward to listening to your next guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.